Ecclesiastes, and a few more books of the poetical books, and then we hit the books of the prophets, Isaiah. Excuse me. Tonight we're in Proverbs 26 and 27. Um, Now, the first 12 verses of chapter 26 of the Proverbs, with the exception of verse 2, but the other 11, they address a fool. Psalm 53:1 says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." So, what defines a fool is someone who eliminates God, eliminates the ways of God, the purposes of God, the direction of God, the creation of God. A fool decides in his heart, not in his head, there's no God. And therefore, decisions are foolish, directions are foolish, and so on. Let me read what Paul writes in Romans chapter 1. It's a long read, so bear with me. Romans chapter 1, beginning in verse 18. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifested in them, for he has shown it to them." So Paul's basically saying that God has revealed himself to everybody. And he says, this is how, in verse 20, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into the image of made like corruptible man, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore, God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, to exchange the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen." So Paul even states, what makes us foolish? Foolishness is when the truth is set before us, but we don't want it. We want to either think we are smarter than the truth, or whatever it may be, but we just don't accept the truth. We're not open to the truth. We're not open to discussion. And so this is the first part of chapter 26 in the Proverbs. This is what he deals with, is the fool, the person who doesn't take advice, doesn't look for or accept anything of God, ways of God, or anything else. Verse 1 says, "As snow in summer and rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool." So he's basically saying there that to honor a fool is as unnatural and damaging as snow in the summer. Snow in the summer, your crops can't grow. And then, excuse me, rain in the harvest time, it kills the harvest, it kills the crop. So, he says that's to honor a fool is damaging and unnatural as snow in the summer and rain in the harvest time. It shouldn't be done, you guys, and we see it happening throughout the world, where people who have degrees in college, therefore they must be extremely intelligent, and they walk away from the truths of God, and so the word says they're fools. They just won't accept the truth, and I will refrain from naming names. Verse 2, "Like a flitting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse without cause shall not alight." So this is not talking about a fool, unless a fool believes in curses. So he's basically telling us, don't worry about curses. they basically don't land on you. They just kind of float around. They're words that float around like the sparrows and the swallows. They don't actually land on you. I can remember years ago, and I apologize, I don't remember his real name. Bernie, what was Zorro's real name? Oh, well, a couple of old guys can't remember that far back. But he called himself Zorro. He had emotional problems, and one day he was at Calvary Chapel, West Covina in the office and causing a ruckus, and I went out and told him to leave, and he said, okay, I'll leave, but I'm going to curse you. And when this door closes and the door hits the door jamb, the whole place is going to shake with an earthquake, quake, and fall. Okay, Zorro, just go. And so I was very young, very belligerent back in those days, more so than even now. And when the door hit the jam, I went boom, real loud, but it didn't scare me because I just know it's floating words, and that's what he's saying there in verse 2. Don't be afraid of the curses, because nobody has the abilities to curse like that. So they're just floating words. Verse 3. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. Donkeys and horses are known for stubbornness, so he's basically saying a fool is stubborn. They don't listen, they don't accept, they don't move, they don't react, they do what they want to do. Verses 4 and 5, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. And then verse 5, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. I know it sounds contradicting there, but it's not. Verse 4 is telling us don't join in with the fool's mentality and comments and participate in it. And verse 5 is telling us to answer the fool with the wisdom of God to show him where the truth is and that you can reveal the truth to him. So it sounds contradicting, but it's not. It's just telling us don't participate with the folly of a fool in answering and saying, agreeing along with him. And verse 5 is saying, answer him in truth, though, in God's wisdom, that he may learn the truth. Verse 6, he who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Don't send your messages by the hand of a fool, because they will misrepresent you. If you tell somebody who is kind of doing their own thing, very stubborn, very rebellious, and you give them, here, go tell somebody this, chances are pretty high that message isn't going to be portrayed or delivered in the manner that it should be. They would probably misrepresent you. So don't send the message by the hand of a fool. Verse 7, like the legs of a lame that hang limb, is the proverb in the mouth of fools. Legs are used for walking. Somebody who is lame, the legs can't do what they're supposed to do, so they can't be used. And so they're basically saying the proverb out of the mouth of a fool can't be used. It's a proverb, but it doesn't actually work the way it should work, as the lame man has legs, but they don't function, so they just hang there. So don't follow the proverbs of a fool. Verse 7, wait a minute, where am I at? Okay, verse 8. Like one who binds a stone in a sling is he who gives honor to a fool. To bind a stone in a sling means that you have the sling. You guys remember the story of David where he lets go of the one end and the rock flies. To bind a stone in the sling means you tie the stone into the pouch of the sling so it doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't. It can't be used. And so he says, so don't give honor to fools because they don't receive nor respect nor embrace the honor. Verse 9, like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Somebody who is drunk, if they got a splinter or a thorn, they don't even know it. They don't feel it. It has no impact upon them. And so they say it's the same thing. It can't be felt. It doesn't. You don't even know it's there. So, hence, he's saying a proverb in the mouth of a fool is me. You don't even realize that it's a proverb. Verse 10, the great God who formed everything gives the fool his hire and the transgressor his wages. He's letting us know there that God is in control of everything. They say there is no such thing as of God. They don't believe in God. They don't follow God's ways. And yet, truth be told, God is the one that gives them their riches and gives them their authority and gives them whatever it is that they have. But they foolishly don't even acknowledge that it's God. And here, there'll be a day that they'll stand in the presence of God and they'll realize that they didn't have all that wisdom. They didn't have all that ability. It was given to them by God, and yet they blew off God and ignored and denied that God even existed. Verse 11, as a dog returns to his own vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. Since a fool is not open to instruction, they are doomed to repeat their failures. It's a gross way of putting it, but the vomit that a dog eats is food that he's already eaten, and so it says it's just saying that because a fool's not open to instruction, they are set to repeat their failures. Verse 12, do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. He's basically telling us to be conceited is worse than being a fool. Thinking that you're something that you're not. A fool, and he's gone through 11 verses there of the foolishness of a fool. And he says, but you know what? If you're conceited, that's even worse than being a fool. From verse 13 to 16, these proverbs, they address laziness. These are some pretty interesting descriptions of laziness. Verse 13, the lazy man says, there is a lion in the road. A fierce lion is in the streets. Lions apparently were prominent back in these days through Israel. I've had a chance to go to Israel twice, never seen a lion. But apparently they used to be there. And so, they don't leave the house. There's going to be a lion out there. Not that he saw the lion, not that somebody came running in and saying there's a lion out there. It just could be. And so I can't go out. We have coyotes in our neighborhood. It'd be like Jeanette said, can you take the trash out? No, there's a coyote might be out there around the corner waiting for me. And, we have a friend who lives in Orange County, and she went out at night and during when it was cold and there was a little bit of ice on the driveway, and she saw a coyote right, like she was coming towards the car. She got to the front of her car. The coyote came to the back of her car, and she froze and then lost her footing and shattered both of her wrists. And so now I would assume she figures, well, I'm not going to go outside no more because there might be a coyote out there. But there's no truth to it. It's just I'm not going to go out there because it's too dangerous to go out there. Verse 14, as a door turns on its hinges, so does a lazy man on his bed, just going back and forth, rolling back and forth, back and forth. Uncomfortable this way, go this way. Uncomfortable that way, go back this way. Hence is a lazy man. Verse 15, the lazy man buries his hand in the bowl. It wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. Oh my goodness. That means when it comes time to eat, you get your hand and you get the bread and you dip it in there, and you're just too lazy to get it all the way up to your mouth. So it just kind of hangs there in a bowl. Verse 16, the lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Lazy people figure, no, there's a lion out there. No, I can't do this. Oh, no, I can't do that. And they think they're the smart ones, and they won't listen to sensible men. So those verses address the lazy man. Verse 17, he who passes by and meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a dog by the ears. If you grab a dog by the ears, that means you're pretty close. Chances of you getting bitten in the face are pretty high. And so basically what he's saying, if you stick your nose in other people's business, you'll probably get bit. So stay out of other people's business. Now, it is not a suggestion that we don't help one another, but you know the difference between sticking your nose in somebody's business and helping somebody. And so he warns against it. It's like you're setting yourself up to definitely get bit. Verses 18 and 19, like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking. Just as damaging as a madman shooting weapons, that's the damage of someone who lies or deceives and ridicules and then says, oh, I was just joking. So many people get out of sarcastic comments or mean comments or rude comments after they say it and they find themselves getting in trouble. They just, I was kidding, really? I was just joking. And he says that the damage that a madman has with weapons, that's the damage that can be done with someone who says things to hurt and then lies and said, oh, I was only joking. Verse 20, where there is no where there is no wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no talebearer, strife ceases. Well, that makes sense. If you don't have wood, the fire would absolutely go out. Well, if you have a gossiper or a complainer or somebody who wants to exaggerate, you'll stop that anger if you stop the exaggeration or the lying or the rudeness. It won't feed the fire. I always encourage people, if you find yourself discussing something with somebody and it starts getting a little out of hand, and the other one begins to raise his voice, for you to raise your voice just feeds the fire, because then now they have to yell louder, and now you have to yell louder, and don't feed the fire. Don't feed with sarcasm or rudeness or harshness. They may call you names and say that you're a sissy or you don't know how to argue or you don't know how to defend yourself. That's fine. If that's what they want to believe in their time of anger, then let them believe that. But don't throw logs in on the fire when there's an argument or a discussion that is turning into an argumentative situation. Verse 21, as charcoal is to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Same thing. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever known people that they seem to like to argue. They seem to like to fight. It's like, they start a conversation with you with the intentions of fighting with you and arguing with you. It's like charcoal in the burning coals and wood in the fire. They just start stuff, so don't participate. Don't jump in the fire with them. Verse 22: the words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the inmost body. Here's the hard truth, you guys. Gossip is sweet. It's enticing, and we often are aware of the fact, listen, if somebody starts to gossip, just stop them. But you find yourself when you're trying to stop them, you're thinking, boy, I'd like to get the story of this. I like to, and it's very sweet and enticing, just and they'll get into our system and it affect us so turn away from the gossip and the talebearer. Verse 23, fervent lips, fervent lips with a wicked heart are like earthenware covered with silver dross. Um, False statements, you guys, they're made to look good, but they're lies, and they're covered in silver. You've got a clay vessel covered in silver. You think it's all silver. It's not. It's just, covered in it, and it's all clay. So he's warning as far as, um, good words can protect or cover. The attempt is to cover a wicked heart. You say nice things to somebody, and inside you're just spitting mad and dislike them, but you know that you're not supposed to dislike them, so you smile and say nice things, and it's like silver covering a clay pot. It's not real. It's not genuine. It's not pure. It's not worth anything. There's no value to it. Verse 24 through 26. He who hates disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within himself. When he speaks kindly, do not believe him, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness will be revealed before the assembly. Um, People try to cover their hate, very similar to the verse 23, you know, having the anger or the hate towards somebody inside of us. But again, I'm not supposed to hate people, especially leadership, let's say, or family or friends. And so we say things, and we disguise with our lips and make it sound like we're like them or we agree with them, and we hide our hatred with our nice words. But God will reveal the truth in the end, and people will see through it, and God will reveal it through our actions. Verse 27. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone will have it roll back on him. He's telling us there that we'll get caught in the traps that we set. We trap ourselves. And Jeanette is a great prayer warrior, and there's been times where situations have come up with individuals, and she prays, Lord, catch them in their own traps, set them up with their own words, and I've seen and experienced people. I've myself had a bad situation, and they set the trap for themselves. So they catch themselves in the trap. The trap's set for you, but they catch themselves in the trap. Verse 28, a lying tongue hates those who are crushed by it, and a flattering mouth works ruins. Sometimes proverbs are just straight up truthful, and they're hard to accept, but they're truthful, you guys. People lie about other people because they hate them. It's not because I just have a problem with lying. They lie about people and spread rumors about people because they actually hate them, and they flatter you with the intentions of ruining you. They don't flatter you to encourage you. They flatter you with intentions of ruining you, and these are hard things to accept, and these are things that we need to make sure that we look at our own lives and our own hearts and our own mouths, that we don't figure, well, no, I said, oh no, have a great day. And yet as I'm walking away, it's like, may they be hit by a car, Lord. God hears the hearts. And so, you know, be honest with yourselves and let God really speak to all of our hearts. Chapter 27, verse 1, do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth. It'd be so awesome if each of us just put our lives and our futures into God's hands, and just trust Him and go with it, whether it's good or bad, whatever the outcome. But don't boast as far as, I've got this figured out, I've got myself set up. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what a day brings. But if we have the heart of, I put my life in your hands, God, good, bad, or ugly, I know that my life is in your hands, and for whatever reason, you're taking me through the valleys, or you're taking me up into the mountains, or you're having me go through discouragements, or you're just blessing my socks off of me. It's not because of my doing, it's not because of my deserving, it's not because of my wisdom, it's because you're working in my life. And so I put my life completely, Lord, into your hands, and I simply follow. I don't want to lead. I just want to follow. Most of us came to the Lord because we saw that in the leading of our own lives, we were pretty messed up. And so it was the willingness to surrender to the Lord because, I'm messing my own life up with my ways and my will and my direction. So I now follow the Lord. My future is in God's hands. Whatever He chooses to do with me, I am willing to follow and to accept and to deal with it day by day. Um, and don't get caught up in the. A lot of Christians feel like don't be too happy because if you're too happy, God's going to knock you down, and tomorrow's going to be a rotten day. I don't know where they get that from, but God is always for us, as we sang in that song. He's not against us; He is for us. So don't just follow the Lord. Verse 2, let another man praise you and not your own mouth, a stranger and not your own lips. Do not exalt yourself. If you're doing good, let the Lord exalt you, or if somebody else wants to say thank you, that was a good job, you did a great work. Do not exalt yourself because that leads to huge pride when we exalt ourselves. Verse 3, a stone is heavy and sand is weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than both of them. Um, a fool's anger is hard to deal with, you guys. It's just there's nothing easy about it. When a fool is angry, and they're putting forth their wrath, it is really hard to deal with. And so he's just speaking truths here. Verse 4. Wrath is cruel and anger a torrent, but who is able to stand before jealousy? Um, Listen, jealousy and envy can drive you to deeper wickedness than anger. People get mad, they do silly things, but jealousy can drive you to a deeper wickedness than even anger can, is what he's warning us about there. So, um, stay away from jealousy or envy. Verse 5, open rebuke is better than love carefully concealed. If you truly care for someone, then be honest, lovingly honest with them. Okay, but don't. If Jeanette comes to see me and she says, "What do you think of this dress?" and it's got to be the most ugliest dress I've ever seen in my life, and I tell her, "Oh no, it's great." No, you're going to get all kinds of comments on it. They probably won't be the comments she was hoping for. So, just lovingly say, I don't know that looks right for you. Maybe for somebody else, but it doesn't look right for you. Just lovingly tell them the truth. Verse 6, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Listen, you guys, a true friend um, will, again, lovingly be honest with you and tell you the truth, even when it hurts. It's not easy to do. I don't know if you've ever had to sit down with a friend and tell them, yeah, this ain't good, this ain't right, this shouldn't be, and you need to, maybe make some adjustments or what have you, or I'm here for you, I'm praying for you, I'm interceding for you, but I'm not going to participate in this. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's what a true friend does. Rather than put your arm around them and say, "Nah, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. This will all work out just grand." Again, the loving honesty is what we depend on our friends for. I want my friends to be honest with me because I know my capabilities. I know I can be a jerk. I know I can have an attitude. I know I can make bad decisions. And so if I just have friends that go, no, no, do it. Yeah, no, no, do it. I would be all messed up. So luckily, God has blessed me with friends that say, no, don't do that. That's not the right way to go at it or approach it or deal with it. And that's the friends that we want, and that's the friends that we want to be. A satisfied soul loathes, verse 7, loathes the honeycomb, but to a hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. When you're satisfied in the Lord, you guys, the temptation of sweetness or the temptation of the world isn't there. It doesn't entice you. You don't long for it because you're satisfied in the Lord. If you're not satisfied in the Lord, you even want bitter things, and you've convinced yourself that the bitter things are actually sweet. So being content and satisfied in the Lord brings a complete satisfaction and contentment within our lives. Verse 8, like a bird that wanders from its nest is a man who wanders from his place. When a bird wanders from its nest, it's unprotected. If we wander from the surroundings and the protection and the ways of the Lord, then we're not protected any longer. So stay in the environment of the Lord. Verse 9, ointment and perfume delight the heart, and the sweetness of a man's friend gives delight by hearty counsel. Nothing greater than the heartfelt counsel of a good, solid friend. It just going through difficult times. I don't know if you've ever find yourself at wit's end. You're about ready to just throw in the towel or scream or holler. To sit down with a friend that has the heart of the Lord, the purpose of the Lord, the words of the Lord. It's a great feeling and a great comfort. Verse 10, do not forsake your own friend or your father's friend, nor go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor nearby than a brother far away. He's encouraging us to stay close to our friends and our family friends and acquaintances of the family, because when our family isn't there to help us, if they're distant somewhere, nothing better than a close friend to be able to turn to and help in the time of need or question in your life. Verse 11, my son, be wise and make my heart glad, that I may answer him who reproaches me. We tend to blame the parents when the kids make foolish decisions or dangerous decisions or do things wrong. And so Solomon's basically saying, so listen, guys, do good, and that way they'll compliment and see that you followed the wisdom of your father and not the foolishness of your father. Verse 12, a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. The simple pass on and are punished. A wise person will look ahead of their life. They won't just deal with right here's in front of them. They'll look ahead, and for me to say this or do this, the consequences or the outcome would be that, and they'll wisely think things through and protect themselves and hide themselves from foolish answers or foolish decisions or foolish directions or harmful directions or decisions or statements. Somebody who's just skipping along without any concern or thought about life or people around them, they suffer the consequences. They find themselves running into walls on a constant basis and getting in trouble on a constant basis. I don't know if you've known people that they come to you and they say, yeah, I got in trouble, and your first thoughts are, again? And it's because they just don't think things through. And so he's encouraging us to think things through before we take steps. Verse 13, take the garment of him who is surety for a stranger and hold in a pledge when he is surety for a seductress. Don't co-sign or lend without collateral is all he's basically saying there. Verse 14, um, he who blesses his friend with a loud voice rising early in the morning, it will be counted as a curse to him. Um, don't be loud in the mornings, folks, okay? Let the people wake up and gently get into it. I'm always the first one up at my house, and I love the quietness. And my daughter, Deanie, who's maybe listening to this right now, don't take it personal. She gets up early too. And so it's like my quiet time, and she, well, good morning. And I just want, in my head, I'm thinking, no, don't talk to me. Don't just pretend like I'm not here. But it's basically encouraging us, be respectful of one another. When you wake up in the morning and you're in a really, 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 really good mood, maybe they're not. So just be quiet and let them wake up on their own, and be very pleasant and gracious and understanding. Don't be loud in the morning. Verses 15 and 16. A continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. Whoever restrains her restrains the wind and grasps oil with his right hand. Um, a contentious person, you guys, is continual um, and very annoying. And trying to stop them is like trying to stop the wind or grab something with oil on your hands. It just gets away from you. So how do you deal with it? It'd be a good time to go to the next room. No, um, it's hard. It's difficult. But you probably, if somebody is in that situation to where you know, um, they're angry or they're frustrated or they're complaining, um, just short answers or no answers, because if you get into it with them, they're ready for a fight. I don't know if you ever noticed with people when somebody is angry and you're not, they don't want to talk to you. And you can ask them, what's going on? Are you okay? They go, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. And you can tell, no, something's wrong. And the general reason behind that is they don't want to discuss it with you right now because they're mad. And they're going to say things because they're mad, and you're calm, and you're going to make them look foolish because you're calm and sensible and they're angry and crazy. And so they would prefer you to get angry. And now we're on equal levels, so we're both angry and we can go at it. And so just restrain yourself, and you can't restrain them, you can't stop them, but you can control yourself and take control of your tongue and your life and your answers and your words, but don't try to contain or restrain them, because it'd be like trying to pick up something with greasy hands. It won't happen. Um, Verse 17, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. It is so important for all of us guys to be encouraged by one another and to encourage one another. That's why the men's breakfast is a good time to get together and just fellowship with each other and encourage one another. Men and women, we're different. I know the world says we're not. But we are. God has made us different. Our emotions are different. Our physical abilities are different. Our way of seeing things are different. That's what's the blessing about being married is I see things as a guy because I'm a guy. But now as married, I can turn to Jeanette and go, what do you see? And I get the view and the sight and the emotions and the interpretations of her besides myself. And the great difference in how we see things. So it's important to encourage one another and to come alongside one another as men and just be that encourager and look for men that could be encouraging to you and be an encouragement to other men. And it's a great time. And it doesn't have to be at a Bible study. It could be over breakfast. It can be out at the shooting range. It can be, skiing together. It can be sporting events together. Men need to encourage each other. We need to be encouraged, and we need to encourage. Um, Verse 18, whoever keeps the fig tree will eat its fruit, so he who waits on his master will be honored. If we do good at work, you guys, we'll partake of the benefits. If we're faithful at our jobs, if we're faithful in our commitments, if we're faithful in our friendships, we'll partake of the benefits of it. We will be blessed, and so whoever keeps the fig tree will eat the fruit. We'll partake in it. Um, Verse 19, as in water, face reflects as in water, face reflects face, so a man's heart reveals the man. You guys have either yourself or seen many movies where they'll look into the water and a reflection of themselves. It shows who they are. Um, our hearts are a reflection of our lives. Who we are, the way we act, the way we treat people is revealed in our hearts. Verse 20. Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. If your eyes are not upon the Lord, you'll never be content. You'll never be satisfied. No matter how much you have, it's never enough. You always need a little bit more. You always wonder why people who are multimillionaires, why they need another million, because it's just never enough. You just always want more because you don't have the contentment of the Lord. Your eyes aren't on the Lord. Your eyes are on stuff. And if you see somebody who has something you don't have, you go get it because that'll probably make you happy. And you need to just keep your eyes on the Lord. And when you do that, what you have or don't have isn't the issue because you have the Lord and you are satisfied and full and content. Verse 21, the refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, and a man is valued by what others say to him. Fire is what purifies gold and silver. What purifies us, you guys, is what people say to us and about us is what purifies us. Whether they praise us or discourage us or condemn us, criticize us, how do we handle that? That's what builds us. That's what brings the attitudes or the sin or the evil thoughts. That's what brings it to the surface. If they praise us and we get all proud, then that has to be scraped away. If they attack us and criticize us and we get angry, that's what has to be. That's the fire and the heat that God uses in our lives to bring purity within our lives. Praise and criticism. And most of us say, well, I would rather praise than criticism. Listen, pride is a dangerous thing and it does horrible things to people. So fire purifies metal. People's words and comments is what God uses to purify us. Verse 22. Though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle along with crushed grain, yet his foolishness will not depart from him. Outside of the grace of God, you can't get rid of the folly of a fool, even if you crush him. It's got to be the grace of God. It's got to be the hand of God. We do not have the abilities to bring out the foolishness or the folly of a fool. We have to pray for them and walk and speak and live in the wisdom of the Lord. Verse 23 down through 27, he says, be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. For riches are not forever, nor does a crown endure to all generations. When the hay is removed and the tender grass shows itself and the herbs of the mountains are gathered in, the lambs will provide your clothing and the goats the price of a field. You shall have enough goat's milk for your food and the food of your household and the nourishment of your maid servants. If you take care of your flocks, you take care of your herds, they will provide for you. This is great counsel, great proverb, great wisdom for husbands, for pastors, for leaders, for bosses at places. If you take care of your flock, if you take care of your family, if you take care of your workers, if you take care of those that you are overseeing, um, they'll provide for you. They'll take care of you. They'll be there with you and take care of you. And so if you neglect, if you abuse, you won't have the benefits of the herd or the flock or the fields. So if you take care, this is a great verses for husbands. If you take care of your family, you take care of your wife, you take care of your kids, you will profit from them, as they provide and work with you. And pastors the same way. Um, there are websites that I don't necessarily, I kind of skim them every now and then just to get some thoughts or catch what's going on, but they let you know all of the fallen pastors or pastors who are messing up. And the other day I was kind of skimming through it, and so many, and they were addressing mega churches, and so many of them, the pastors have resigned or been fired, what have you, and so many of them was that they were controlling the people and very harsh and very mean, and the result was they didn't take care of the pastors, they booted them. But I know, we were just talking earlier that Ray Bentley went to be with the Lord. I know his church is going to miss him greatly. He was a good pastor. He nourished and fed the flock there, and they blessed him, and he blessed them and his family, and so be a good husband, be a good pastor, be a good leader in any leading position that God sets you in. So a couple more weeks, 2 more weeks, and we will be wrapped up with the Proverbs. Let's pray. Father, we're thankful for this opportunity of coming before you and opening your word. Such wisdom, Father. Lord, you spell things out, you lay things out for us, you give us wisdom. May we embrace it. May we put it into our lives. May we put it into action, Father, because these are things shared with us that we may be blessed, and that we may be a blessing, and that we can be an encouragement to others and be encouraged by others. And so, Lord, you've given us all of this wisdom of yours in this book, that we not simply memorize it, but we actually take it to heart and live it, Father. So help us day in and day out, Father, to be the men and the women that you've enabled us to be in Christ. Bless our fellowship this evening, Father, and protect on our way home. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you guys. Thank you for coming. We've got